Sinan Kanatsis back at you. Another Impact show from my home in San Clemente with a great friend of mine, Edward Madongorere.
That's right.
I'm so stoked to have you here. I mean, we were just talking yesterday about some business stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come back over here. You got to get on my show. And we're so blessed to have such a great crew just come together. You know, Edward, we put on this Impact show to really get in the minds of entrepreneurs. We have over 100,000 people on our network at the IMA. You know, we're so honored to have guests like you that are just breaking the mold of business. And the one thing you're reinventing and disrupting is light. And a lot of people think about light like, oh, I gotta have flash photography, there's not enough light in the room, there's too much light in the room. No one has actually thought of disrupting the industry. What we all do and have on our camera is this flash that we're just, bound to. We never really analyze or think about it until we take that photo, until we share that photo. And then we start analyzing. We start saying, gosh, the lighting sucked on that.
Yeah.
Or we may be in a cool landscape and we have this great lighting around us and we take a photo and we're dark, but that's lit up. Or we're lit up and that's dark. You found a way through your product and your platform to make that right. Tell our audience a little bit about your background and the stuff you're doing at Moon. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a great place, great backdrop. I'm really loving this so far, so thank you.
Sure.
So a little bit about my background. Originally from New York, lived in Africa for a little bit as well. A little bit of self-taught. So I wanted to become a designer as a kid, design cars, and didn't end up happening. Couldn't afford the school I got accepted into. But sort of forged my way through careers and worked my way into marketing over at Comcast, and then taught myself how to code, and then worked my way into Cisco, WebEx, and just really started getting really into all these really cool tech things. So from cinematography to creating websites, and then my wife and I, we have a little guy, and he's our wonderful man of mystery, we call him, and we found out he had autism, and for me, that was super important for us to share every single story.
Right.
Because then we'd be able to really tell him how we got to wherever we are at life.
Sure.
And photos and video was the perfect medium because it's visual. It'll remind us of what that moment felt like.
Sure.
And so started to take photos, and what I realized very quickly was photos are great during the daytime,
right,
in the perfect setting. But the minute you get into an environment that's not suitable for good light, whether it's dim or it's night or wherever, they were just awful.
Right.
So my wife sort of challenged me and come up with an idea on the spot, and I kind of MacGyvered my way. I don't know if people remember MacGyver.
Of course.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I use that term all the time. It's like, go fix it, MacGyver it, right?
So,
find a solution.
Yeah, so in the restaurant, I grabbed her phone and my phone and just back-to-back them together and turned on the light, turned on the selfie cam, and we took this amazing, amazing photo of ourselves. And she was so excited.
Wow. And
it was in that moment, I'm watching another person in the restaurant watch me do this, and before I know it, they're doing the same exact thing, and it hit me that this is an actual problem that not just we're suffering from, but probably millions of other people.
So tell me again, you put back-to-back the phones?
And
show me.
I'll show you. So literally grabbed one phone.
Right. Oh, you have two phones.
Oh, yes. So grabbed one. I'm always doing demos. I got to have extra phones. So grabbed one phone, and then used the light on one phone, and then actually just held them like that, so I had the light peeked out.
Oh, I see.
And then I turned on the selfie camera, and then it was just...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's how that moment happened.
Okay, and then boom, right there, that
literally an actual light bulb moment.
Wow. The light hit you, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, that's the amazing thing, right? There's so many of us that think of ideas, and we never can bring it to reality, right? So think about the thousands of people watching this show. They may have come up with an invention. They may have been in a moment like this. What is it that pushes you through? Is it like you sleep on it and the next day you're like, no, we got something? Or is it like in that moment, this is going to be something that's going to be as big as where you're taking this company? What is some of that sort of stepping stones that you went through to take a thought, a concept, into what you've actually created?
Yeah, it was an interesting moment. I mean, even in that restaurant, I almost, I felt chills, and it was visceral, and I knew in that moment that this was going to be something special.
Sure.
And I just had to go do something about it. So I went home and started prototyping immediately. didn't really know what I was doing,
Right.
but I figured I would try.
Sure.
And then each and every day that went by, I could not stop thinking about it.
Oh, that's amazing.
It became almost
like an obsession, like a passion,
a complete obsession.
And all these other things you're doing in your work, like everything was just on this. It just kept going more and more.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else that had a product like this, or anyone that was toying around with lighting like this?
Actually there was a company that you know, and we had kind of the similar idea at the similar time. I kind of waited for a while with mine, and a year later I'm watching TV and I see this idea on TV. I'm like, oh no.
Oh wow.
But it was very different from what I had in mind.
Right.
And I knew in that moment that, okay, I'm on the right path,
Sure.
because clearly me and this other individual have the same idea. And I realized very quickly that he would be my competition.
There you go. Right. Right.
And that drove me.
And competition drives
Yeah.
that vigor to like compete, and then that drives excellence.
Absolutely.
And take us through the product, the development. I mean, this is a fascinating thing. When I first saw Sean Doherty, of course, who's what I call the queen of power, and you're like the king of lighting. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
She introduced us.
Yes.
Tell me about how you came up with the product, and take our viewers through it.
Yeah, so I really wanted to focus on design, and
Right.
I feel a lot of products sometimes just get made, especially in hardware. People just let me get it to market really fast without really taking time to design it. So
Sure.
for me and my team, it was important for us to actually focus on design, sort of taking an ode to what would Steve Jobs do
Sure.
if they were Apple was making a lighting device, right? So really just focused on the design side first, and then we thought, what about the tech side? How can we make it sophisticated enough that it's actually going to really last through all the iterations of phones that come from when we started to when we launched?
Correct.
And then the rest was finding the people to actually help me do it. I realized I'm good at some things and not really good at a lot of other things.
Exactly.
So being able to pull together a team of really smart individuals was part of that. So because I wanted to design cars, like I told you, I can sketch and draw. So the first design I ever sketched is what we actually made. Which is kind of wild to me.
Okay. I have one right here. The packaging looks like this. This is beautiful color.
Thank you.
And kind of similar to Sean's Volonic device, you know, there is that perfection that Steve Jobs, and like that. There's this, it when it's perfect, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that you kind of drew this, and on your first shot, it really kind of was in that perfect position, and it all kind of came together.
Yes.
Take us through the product.
Yeah, so one of the things I really knew right away was we wanted to make the product extremely small.
Right.
Something that you can carry with you at all times and not feel burdened by some big clunky device.
Correct.
And so really the size was the driver for it in the beginning.
Sure.
And really realized making it small is actually pretty complicated, right? Because we need a battery that's in here, it's rechargeable. But I also wanted to make it so that it's versatile enough when you're using the light, you can actually switch between temperatures.
Right.
So going from, if I get a little technical here, but going from like 2700 Kelvin, which is like a really warm, all the way to 5000 Kelvin, that's really cool.
Sure.
Because there's so many different complexions, so many different ways to want to, create art with photography or video.
Right.
So that was also important. And then making it so that you can use it with touch.
Okay.
So you can adapt it to your phone.
Sure.
But then you're like, I don't really want to use it on my phone. I want to actually use it in my hand.
Right.
Hold it above. Maybe I'm a food photographer and I love food.
Right.
Grab my phone, hold it above that food, and then I can snap that shot that I really want.
So it doesn't have to be on your phone.
Doesn't have to be on your phone.
So your other hand almost becomes the lighting assistant.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then the other part of that is, if I'm on, I am always on, I'm sure you are too, always on FaceTime calls or Zoom calls.
Yeah, right.
Back of a car somewhere.
Sucks.
Lighting's terrible.
And you have these big rings that blind you.
Yeah.
And this is, the solution to that.
And you can't carry it with you. So if you're on the move, you lose that.
It's not practical.
Correct.
I have these two lights. They're very bulky. I can't ever take them with me.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
the ability of being able to put it on your device, so I can put it on my smartphone like so, but also I can also take this off and put it on my tablet, on my laptop.
Right.
Even a DSLR camera, when you flip the screen out and you're doing a vlog, selfie vlog, you can throw it on that little screen. So just being able to be that versatile really made a difference. And then again, back to design, making sure that the design is timeless, so that with all the device changes, when we started this iPhone 12 wasn't even out.
Sure.
But now you can see just clearly with the size of the iPhone 12 how it's really mirrored that finish.
Correct.
It matches and beautifully with what our product looks like.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't plan for that.
Right.
We just wanted to make sure that it's something that's timeless, and we continue to build and innovate based on that.
Maybe Apple designed their phone around your product.
I like that.
Okay, so Edward, take me through the product. I want to see a demo of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you'll see here, it uses two touchpads, so left and right. So I'm able to use two of my fingers and press and hold, and then it'll power up.
Right.
And from that point, I can actually brighten it, or I can dim it down.
Sure.
And I can also switch color temperatures to be able to go to a warmer or cooler. So if I press and hold, it'll blink, and then now I can actually go to a much more warmer, or I can switch to actually a much more cooler.
Wow.
And because I can put it on any device, so I can put it on my phone, and then now I have that lighting that I need for, you know, FaceTime calls, Zoom calls, for photos, selfies, etc. But I can actually take it off my phone, which then gets really interesting because let's say I'm a big foodie.
Sure.
So let's say I'm in a restaurant, I want to take a picture of this amazing sushi plate.
Right.
I can actually, instead of me having to move my phone around, I can set my phone up exactly where I need it and then move my light around to create the exact moment, the right shadows in order to get that great shot.
It's amazing because it's almost like you can train your audience on how to create better light, right?
Yes.
And your users could probably start sharing information with each other on the different techniques. It's like riding a bike, right?
Yes.
Like the first time you're getting used to it, and then you just like start kicking butt.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely.
There's literally hundreds of millions of photos every single day that are uploaded.
Yes.
In the cloud, on Facebook, on Instagram, on every platform that exists. And now we know that the milli detail is what everyone cares about.
Yes.
Lighting, contrast, cropping.
Yes.
It's getting to a point where it's so incredibly detailed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're playing in that market.
Yes.
And maybe 5 years ago, that market really didn't exist because there wasn't the kind of volume.
Correct.
But what makes content now, whether it's video or if it's photo or even if it's written, is how good it is. How good are the details of it, right? And that has become its own trillion-dollar industry, are the details. So in your mind, is it more the social media influencer who's using this? Is it the chef? I mean, who are the different markets that you're talking to that are really obsessed with that lighting detail?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say. So it's social media influencers become kind of its own machine over time, right? As we all see in companies, you know, gravitating towards finding influencers to influence product. What we're finding is like these influencers aren't necessarily people who applied for a job to become an influencer, right? They wake up one day, create some amazing content, and then they flourish within their environment. So really what we're saying, what we're finding is we're trying to find the influencer in everyone with our product.
Right.
Because what you'll find is when they use our product, they'll discover, wait a minute, I didn't know I could actually shoot or create content this way, and it opens up another realm of creativity.
Sure.
Now, the first layer of that for us definitely is, the super influencers, people who are, in the celebrity space.
Right.
Because they already have that creativity kind of built in, and teams around them that have educated them on the process.
Right.
But yes, we see chefs using it, we see influencers using it, cinematographers using it, vloggers using it. And we really want, by the time we, are fully everywhere globally, people to really think about themselves as how do I really boldly create content wherever I'm at.
And it seems to me that the best friend of your product is really the camera.
Yes.
And the camera has gotten to a point where, I mean, these lenses and the technology in these phones are at such a superior level.
Oh, yeah.
And they work hand in hand.
Yeah.
But they really haven't figured out the lighting. And that's where you come in, and really kind of complementing that aspect and hitting that little micro detail. And so do you envision having obviously hundreds of thousands, millions of customers using this, and then you've got your own community of people that really appreciate light, probably sharing content with one another?
Yes. Yeah,
and tell me a little bit about your vision there.
Yeah, so our vision is to really go from not only just doing hardware, but sort of integrating into the software side.
Sure.
And understanding how are people actually taking their photos, why are they positioning the light that way, what kind of mood does it create, and then being able to sort of filter through all those things and see what kind of communities we can derive from it, right? So if you think about even the movie industry, when it comes to lighting, a gaffer will come into the room and set up the light just to be precise for a particular scene. So you have a light above your head, on the side of your head. It creates a mood.
Right.
So being able to create these communities that can sort of educate one another of, hey, these sort of photos create this mood, which from an advertiser standpoint, maybe that mood actually equates to people looking at it more and stopping, and then generating whatever they need from analytics to revenue to and so on. So
100%.
I think there's an opportunity for us there to really hone in on just how content is being created from video, photos, all the way down to even if we're using FaceTime calls. Like, how are they engaging more once they introduce light versus when there's a dim setting, and does that impact the mood of the conversation even?
Oh, 100%. And a lot of times people are looking at their face, right?
Yes.
And they're just destroyed going, well, I mean, maybe they're destroyed for other reasons, but the one reason people are bummed out is it's just like the lighting sucks.
Yeah.
And I've been on so many Zooms. I mean, even with people that are affiliated with my business, I'm like, dude, your lighting sucks,
Yeah.
you know? And I have to like Slack them and be like, can you fix the lighting, because
Yeah.
this looks really poor,
Yeah.
right? So the lighting really does make an impact, and that generation of poor lighting and good lighting in
Yeah.
a real-time Zoom call or FaceTime with family could make the difference of how that content is interpreted by the
Yeah.
recipient.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge,
Absolutely.
man.
And yeah, and it really, just to tie a bow on that, it really does make a difference. If you think about the movie industry, there's a reason they go lights, camera, action, right? It starts with the light, you set the tone and the mood. It doesn't matter what camera you have,
Right.
the best lens, the best sensor. At the end of the day, you introduce very good light, the image is going to be impeccable. And then you position the light somewhere where you want to create a scene, and then everything changes. Now you get
for sure.
dynamic with it.
Right. Tell me how you came up with the name, because I do see a moon here.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, and how does a company get a name like Moon? I mean, I just interviewed the CEO of Purple,
Yeah.
and I was kind of thinking the same thing, like these single name domains and single name brands. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because we have so many
Yeah.
entrepreneurs that are trademarking, copywriting, getting a name.
Yeah.
Tell us how the name came to existence, and I think it's so easy to remember. I mean, you're easy to remember. You have a great personality.
Thank you.
This is really easy to remember because it has a great name. And those are things that are important in business.
Yep.
Personality, I mean, some people tell me like, oh, I'm a people person. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I can't see from the outside in. I can see from the inside out.
Yeah.
I know that I took Toastmasters, right? And when my dad first told me about it, I thought it was a beer drinking club because I was very excited.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do with that. It
Yeah.
was about learning how to communicate and public speak. So having that persona to the leader or inventor of a business is really important, because as you go out, you raise money for your business or you're doing marketing, you have to have a personality. You have to have a way to communicate. If you're super introverted and you're not communicating outwardly, you're going to be challenged. Toastmasters helped me crack the egg out of my shell, which is that persona who has to market the brand, my company, my services. Well, you've got a brand that's easy to understand what it does, and it's got a great name. Tell us a little bit about how that all came into play.
Yeah, it's, I just kept on thinking about what it is to take a great photo and what sort of lighting exists for taking great photography. And friends would always ask me, hey, when I take a really good photo, what's the best source of light? What should I get? What's the best light? What's the best light?
Right.
And I'd always start with, well, the best source of light is the sun.
Right.
Start right there.
There you go.
And then, but every time at night, they'd be like, hey, you always tell us the sun is the best.
Right.
What do we do at night when there's no good source? And I'm like, well, the next best source you're going to have is the moon.
There you go.
And that's sort of how that idea came to be. And then we were like, well, let's really pair the name with something extra, to really show just how mighty our product is, but also the mighty our vision is. And we coined it Moon and then Moon Ultra, and that's how those two formed.
Super cool.
Yeah, and then the rest is, legal.
Right,
you gotta have
course.
very good legal
You
teams.
got to have good people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My trademark attorney, Dean Stakakis, he's phenomenal, and I lean on him for trademark copyright. It's so important to have that kind of resource. And when you find someone that's really good, it protects you. As you grow your business and your brand, there are other competing names that are similar, and you want to always protect your name. That's very important in business. And sometimes it's really tough because businesses are starting up. They're low on cash and they don't have the extra resources to hire an IP attorney to help them with those sort of things, or a trademark attorney. It's important, once you start having a little bit of capital or you're raising funds, make sure to protect your interests.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this and how you protect this. Is this patented?
Yes.
Is this your own thing? I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we filed patents that are issued. We filed patents globally in almost every country at this point.
Oh, nice.
And we've been really lucky. Our legal team is pretty phenomenal
Awesome.
at doing that. But one thing I will say though, and this is to touch on your point about protecting your product, there's a brand side of that.
Yeah.
For me, the thing that I really honed in more, even more so than the IP side, was how do you build a brand that sustains over time?
Right.
And I think if you can do that, even if somebody else shows up with a similar-ish name, even in your own space, it's the cool brand. It's the one that people want to be a part of. The one that people are like, I rock with them.
Sure. And every industry has one of those, like Dropbox, right?
Correct.
For that, you've got Pedigo, who's brand ubiquity. Don DiCostanzo, who was on our show, interviewed him right here. He was teaching me about brand ubiquity. There's that one leader in the pack. of anything.
Correct.
And they usually end up, and you would think like a company like Apple or Google can just swallow them. They can't. I mean, look at what Dr. Dre did with
Correct.
Beats, right? Like,
Yeah.
you would think, okay, Apple can easily smash this, right? And just create their own. Same with Bose. You know, they have that brand ubiquity where they're just like, hey, we're Bose and we're just hanging out over here, and we know we're still going to exist because we are the best at doing this one thing.
Yeah.
You are the best at doing this.
Yes.
No one's going to be better than you. You have the passion. You have the copyrights and the trademarks and the patents and all the protections, but you also have what's inside your heart. You know how this whole conversation started. It's that spark, it's that energy, it's that double down, triple down. There's no one in this world that's going to give it as much love and energy and network and attention than you.
Yes.
And so anyone who tries to compete with that, yeah, they may have more money, they may have more resources, but they don't have the passion. Without the passion, it's very hard to replicate. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you know, because I have competitors, but no one has the level of crazy passion that I have for it, and that's why people choose to work with us. And it's the same thing with your product. Speaking about your product, this to me, I noticed is hanging on your neck. So this is also pseudo jewelry. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah,
a little in vogue here.
I can touch on it a little bit because we're working on some really amazing things. So
Yes,
I'll give you a little preview.
Right.
But you're seeing it on my neck.
Yes,
and
I saw. That's what I'm saying. It looks like jewelry.
This is not even the finale of what we're working on.
Okay, so there's something coming.
There's something brewing,
Epic.
and it's going to be pretty. Yeah, epic is the right word.
Okay.
And, but the idea for us is it should be something you have with you at all times. Going back to Beats, you know, Beats became synonymous with fashion accessory, even though they were headphones.
Right.
People wanted to wear them to match their sneakers, to match their outfits, their lifestyle. And we feel the same way about light. Lighting is really a lifestyle product.
Sure.
If you have the right light, the right moment, but also you have something on you at all times that fits your personality, I think when you tie those two worlds together, it's a winning formula.
I really think that, you know, maybe 10 years ago when Vertu kind of came out with like the $50,000 cell phone and things like that, I think it was too early.
Yep.
I think to have style with tech, this is the time.
Yes.
Because the market at the time hadn't been saturated, it was still adopting. Now everyone's got tech. So when everyone's got tech, now you got to get a little bit of that higher end tech.
Yes.
So I'm seeing the adaptation of tech into wearables in a very compelling way now, whether it be it watches or anything that you're those wearables. But it's very interesting to wear that kind of higher end bracket, kind of like Sean's Volonic, where you have a wireless charging device that's several $100s. It's a premium spend, but we as consumers are tied more emotionally to our technology than we were when it really started coming out. It was just kind of, we were adopting to it, but now it's a part of our everyday life. So there is this sort of, not a competition, but a how do you wear that? How do you display it at a higher end? And I'm starting to see this break into this new multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's great to hear that you've got something coming. Let us know when you're available to talk about it, because we love breaking things on our Impact Show. We've had some amazing announcements through our partners in the past years, and you know, this is super cool. So maybe just in wrapping up, Edward, you know, we've got thousands of young people that are just looking at this, watching this, and wondering how can I bring my product to market? How do I take that leap? I don't have the money, I don't have the network, I can't communicate. What advice do you have for the next generation that may be stuck in a job, but maybe sitting on this great idea that they want to disrupt something? How do they take that first step, and then talk about the second, third, and fourth step to follow that?
Yeah, and that's great. And honestly, it's a tough question, but also I think it takes that tenacity of an individual to understand that if they believe in what they want to do, they just push forward. For me, when I had the idea, we ran home, and I got home, and I was like, I know how to do a little bit. So I grabbed a battery from our smoke detector. I don't recommend to take the battery out of the smoke detector and not putting it back. That chirp is annoying.
Oh gosh, I hate that chirp.
But took that.
Disrupt that industry next, okay? That chirp drives me nuts. And it always like shows up at like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
you know,
random
like
times.
stupid time. Anyways.
So, but I grabbed some wires, some LED lights, and just started somewhere.
Right.
And very quickly I realized I'm not an engineer.
Right.
But I had something I could show.
Sure.
Something I could take to someone and just get initial feedback.
Right.
And it starts with that initial feedback, because then you're going to start to iterate, and then the more people you tell about your product. And I feel sometimes with new entrepreneurs, they have this fear of, if I tell someone, it's going to be taken away from me.
Right.
And you have to have the belief that it's because of you also and your passion that even if someone else tries to do it, it's not going to have the same
Sure.
sort of feel. So having that security to be able to show people, get feedback, iterate, and then really just you get lucky. You find someone who you meet one day and they're like, oh, I can help you do this. I actually know how to make this, or I know somebody who can, or somebody who's done. Before you know it, you're getting networked with people, and that one person leads to two, two leads to four, and so forth. So even if you don't have a network to start, just by starting the idea and talking about it with people creates the opportunity.
Right. And then I'm sure you face challenges, because I can remember times where I started a business or I ventured into something and it just wasn't going.
Yeah.
And I tried all the things that you said and it still just kept failing and could not get it going.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, you know, when the lights are out, but you see a little flicker and your heart's still in it, but you just know that you've just kind of been defeated in every category.
Yeah.
How do you get through your darkest times? How do you get through that when everything is like against you? How do you flip your mind into a place where it's like, okay, I'm not losing. I'm gonna take on tomorrow with a fresh attitude. Like, how do you get through that yourself?
So my mom is like my champion, my superhero. She taught me something pretty valuable when I was really young. And I would come home, when I was younger, I had really bad acne.
Right.
And, you know, she would see me moping around the house because of that. And one day she told me, you know what, we're going to get rid of this feeling that you have. She made me stand in front of a mirror and tell myself that I'm capable, I'm handsome, I'm brilliant, just words of affirmation.
Wow.
And I thought it was the dumbest thing I could possibly do. I felt ridiculous, and I was against it. And she forced me to do it day in and day out for months straight. She's like, I'm going to not let you off the hook.
Right.
Until this one day I come home and she's not home, and I walk by a mirror and I walked back to it.
And you said
I did it on my own.
Wow.
And since that day, I've never stopped.
It's powerful.
Before a pitch meeting, before I have to go meet with potential partners, before anything I'm about to do that I feel requires that, I will look in a mirror, I'll look in a reflection, I'll take my selfie cam and turn it on, and I'll say it to myself to remind me that I have to be my biggest cheerleader first.
Sure.
And then eventually what that does, it radiates outwardly to other people, and they see you, they get that cosmic, you know,
That's
pull.
huge.
And they're like, man, I'm here to root for you. I'm here to help you. And you start to find that, and then balance that with a little bit of luck.
Right, right. And
things
what's
can
your
happen.
mom's name?
Angeline.
Angeline, I hope you heard that, because that's the impact you've made on your son, who's now making it to thousands of people. And I think facing our fears is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's your fear of heights, your fear of acne, your fear of public speaking. It's the hardest thing to do, but when you live on that edge, that's life. That is what we all go through as human beings. And again, I'm super stoked to have you on my show. In wrapping up, Edward, tell our audience how they could purchase this and kind of the price point, and what's the roadmap for the next 3 to 6 months for the business.
Yeah, so moonultra.com is our website.
Moonultra.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can get it on our website, and you know we're constantly refreshing because we sell out, which is a good thing. But we have some new innovative products on the way.
Nice.
Can't touch on them yet.
Okay.
But some amazing accessories, and we're really building a great community.
Nice.
We always try and stay scrappy and lean, but also like we have a vision for really globally dominating and being the category leaders in this space.
Super.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Edward's available to you as a mentor. We'll share his information with you, and thank you so much for being part of our show.
Thank you for having
some
me.
Great insights. We wish you continued success to the moon and back, my friend.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll be back at you. Thank you for watching Impact Show. We'll be talking to you soon.